This is Brian Mounts. I wanted to talk through my process practicing on the 2015 Masters pattern. As you can see, the pattern should provide a lot of different angles of entry to the pocket. However, I had never played on it before, so I threw 6 warm-up shots and then just got started with my Kingpin Max. Excuse me. I got started with my quantum bias. After my warm-up, I grabbed my quantum bias because it reads the lane very early, earlier than anything in my bag, with the exception of urethane, and I did not want to try throwing urethane on this shot on my first practice session. In any event, I opted for about a 17 board laydown point at the foul line and ended up crossing the arrows when I threw the ball well at about 14. Trajectory took it over 12 as it exited the oil line and took it out to about 10 near the end of the buff zone at 39 feet. Of course, the buff zone is light oil, but there's definitely some there. So the trajectory for a straight ball would have taken that ball out to about 8 at 45 feet, but the ball never got that far to the outside. Of course, a good shot, 17 at the foul line to 14 at the arrows, was pretty much a flush shot every time. Basically, it was just dumb luck guess right out of the bag. Lucky guess or not, it ended up being a really good game for me. Fresh oil with 6 warm-up shots on lane 22, and I rolled a 255. Granted, I carried a couple things that possibly shouldn't have carried. Even if you take those away, that's still an easy 2-0 to 2-teen. What I didn't realize towards the end of this game is that the ball actually started transitioning on me a little bit before I picked up on it. Basically, by the 9th and 10th frame of this game, I carried a couple shots that went a little bit high, and then the last shot I missed, leaving me a 255 instead of a 256. But I didn't pick up on the fact that the ball started reading a little bit early after the arrows before the main break point. Basically, that middle lane started hooking, and to the untrained eye, or even someone like me who's been bowling for 25 years, sometimes you just think you missed to the left, but you're not actually missing to the left. You're hitting your same target at the arrows. It's just reading instantly right after the arrows and never quite getting to the break point that it was earlier in the game. Of course, it didn't make much of a difference for the score of this game, but as the game transitioned into 2, I didn't make an adjustment with my feet or hand position, ball rotation, speed, or anything, and I started losing the pocket consistently in the beginning of the second game. As game 2 really got towards the middle of the game, frames 3 and 4, I was really kind of sitting in the same spot with my feet and started fiddling around quite a bit with hand positions, trying to come around the side of the ball a little bit more instead of up the back, trying to arc it a little bit. Of course, sometimes if I tug it, half a board left at the arrows, it would read and go through the nose. If I leaked it half a board to the right, it would sail a little bit, because that's what happens when you come around the ball. You add length. So game 2 really was just kind of a grind, and unfortunately I ended up leaving a couple big splits this game. Couldn't get a double. Managed a 170 some odd, and by game 3 I finally started making some adjustments. Unfortunately, I stopped recording, so I can't really comment on them with the video. What I can say is that I obviously started moving my feet left a little bit. Instead of 17 at the foul line, I was close to 19 and 20 in game 3. I stopped trying to come around the ball because, quite honestly, quantum bias is not really the ball to be coming around the side of. It's just not the right ball for that. The bias is really a ball about reading early, and it always performs best for me when I come up the back and go for that smooth arc of a hook. And that's what I did game 3. I started sliding in just a little bit to 20, kind of going back out over 14, 15 at the arrows, grinded out another 190-ish game. And by game 4, I got myself really lined up by moving left even more and playing out to 15, 16 at the arrows. Basically, those first 2.5, 3 games, I really carved out a line, a trench, so to speak, at about 12, at about 12 board, at about 30 feet down the lane. And I basically just started banking it off of it, and suddenly I had the world game 4. Fired off the front 11, and 12 I came around the side of the ball a little bit, as you'll see coming up in the video, and it just didn't work out. Basically, I came around the side of the ball and it just didn't finish. It just went too long. But here you'll see the slide. It's a slight move to the inside, but that's all it takes. And you see that pin action, that was insane. I only recorded 2 shots this game, but the 2 shots that I recorded were perfect examples of everything that game. This is a SketchUp of a lane graph that I like to do sometimes when I bowl on tougher oil patterns. In this graph, I sketched up the lines that I actually played to start off and where I finished in game 4. I put a theoretical game 5 and 6 line in, starting at about 23, 24 at the foul line. You can also see that my first 4 games, I was crossing over about 13 at about 25 feet. That was the spot that I burnt up and started banking it off of as I moved in deeper.